Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Motivation and That. My name is Natalie. I'm your host, and this is where we take hot mess to high potential. Today, I'm excited because I've got someone local back on the show again, and we are in person. So bear with us because, as always, tech difficulties are a really fun time. We started a couple times already, but we are going to get there. We're going to have a great conversation. And if you were here for the episode with TJ from Commonplace Coffee, this is a great second discussion about the beauty of spaces, collaboration, and community. So without further ado, I want to introduce Bre. She is the owner of Obsessions Coffee Roastery and an actual coffee shop right in the neighboring town of Homer City, and was nice enough to not only come in person to the studio, but I think third time's the charm. We've had some weather that's gotten in the way of recording, but here we are, and I'm just really excited to chat about your journey because there's so much that I read like when you post and I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, I get it. Like, oh, okay. So Bre, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into this journey of coffee and community, and what did it look like? Because you've described it as kind of chasing a squirrel over time.
Um, so I worked in healthcare for the past 10 years. I started as a CNA for 3 years and then worked as an RN for the past 7. I recently retired from nursing this last past May to go full time with the business. Um, I originally went into healthcare to, help people and I guess find that community. Um, but healthcare's changed a lot
Mm-hmm.
over the years and it's it's different. So, throughout COVID and stuff, things got a little crazy. Um, I found that it wasn't as fulfilling as, it was maybe in previous years. So I was just looking for something different, maybe more community centered. I tried different areas of nursing. I went into home health and stuff, which was good. I got to get out and meet people and get into the community and help people. But just kind of wanted to help with more of the outreach and the small businesses and stuff like that. Um, so the coffee is kind of funny because I never really frequented coffee shops. Never really did anything like I never went in a coffee shop, never roasted coffee before, never worked in it. I was just like, you know what, that looks cool. So it was just one of those hobbies that kind of just went out of control. Um, and we had spoken about ADHD in adults,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a new hobby every
Mm-hmm.
week. So this is kind of one of those hobbies that just kept on going. And now I'm like in deep and now I can't turn back.
So you started with just a roastery, right?
Right.
Initially.
Yeah. So I want to say it's small, but really we're micro. I started doing wholesale. Um, but with how small we were, I really just wanted to focus on myself and my growth instead of just roasting for other people. So my roaster itself can roast 2 pounds at a time. It takes me a long time to build a roast, like big wholesale orders. So after a few months of that, I was like, you know what? Let's take it further. So I actually ordered a trailer from a company in Alabama. Big mistake. It was really it was a disaster. Um, problem after problem with that, but that's what got us started and out really, you know, out in the community and meeting people and kind of got the business launched. The roasting business, it was fine. Got into the event spaces, but there was limitations on what that license could do. I couldn't serve any drinks. I could only sell like the bags. So getting into the trailer helped a lot. I could actually get creative. And that was a big thing for me also, creativity, being able to actually serve people something good
Mhm.
and like something that they wanted to come back for. Um, so that's kind of the direction we wanted to go.
And the trailer, I mean, I love that you admit there were lessons learned along the way.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, remember when you were really mobile with the trailer
Hmm.
at first, and around here in central PA, all it takes is one bad snowstorm and you're thrown off for weeks in the
Yep.
mud and the rain. And so you got this spot to kind of put the trailer down in Homer City, and it was great. Main street parking. It's not like it's a hustling, bustling
Right.
area, but people had access to it, which was one of the key components. And now you've moved into the space next door,
Right.
and that's probably been its own journey of epic proportions.
Yeah, yeah. I actually started parking at the magistrate in Homer City, and I had met Rachel at Disobedient Spirits, and they initially kind of wanted me to do the pop up situation inside of Disobedient Spirits, which is a distillery, because they didn't really use the space during the day. But logistically, the space didn't really work with the power and the plumbing and stuff like that. So I was on the hunt. I just wanted somewhere to park. I was sick of towing it around, sick of trying to find some place to stick it. And she ended up getting me in contact with Natalie with Trendy Trades. And she's like, hey, you can park in my alley, which was great. It was somewhere consistent that I could, on the days off from my nursing job, I could set up there. And then she's like, hey, we bought this really old building in an auction, and this is my crazy idea. And speaking of those ADHD adults, Natalie is the same way. And she took me into this old, dilapidated building just full of junk. And she's like, do you see my vision? And I'm like, yeah, I see it. So we just, over the next year, we kind of worked together to get that place, up and functioning as a cafe.
And Trendy Trades is a secondhand store for clothing, right?
Yeah, so she's a resale boutique. She used to do consignment, I think, a lot more, but she mostly just buys clothing off people. She has a select few that she gets some really nice pieces from. And she used to get some more boutique pieces. I think she just focuses on, her really good sellers that she gets from. Um and she downsized. She moved into the cafe space with us. So it's kind of like a meshed business at this point, and we work together to, run both businesses.
And that secondhand clothing is taking off. So there's a chance, and we have a university right here. I know we just had Be an Excellent Vibe launch this week or a couple weeks ago, and Riley had a ton of people there, and it's all these college kids looking for secondhand clothes because fashion comes back
Right.
around. Should have kept everything. I probably could have sold it for a good penny on eBay. But it's a nice way that if people are coming in for clothes, they can grab a coffee. If they're coming in for coffee, they can peruse clothes. So
Right.
the collaborative effort of having kind of Trendy Trades there with you and give you a chance to have more than just a trailer
Right.
to have food and other options. We're going to talk about soup a little later on because that's my favorite part, and I'm saving it to last. But why did you call it Obsessions? You have great logos, by the way. Anyone that's into sugar skulls and all of that kind of stuff, like this is the merch to check out. But how did it get its name, and how did you kind of develop it to be a little bit different than what we see other coffee shops maybe looking alike in the area?
Um, we tossed around, me and my friend, we tossed around some different names and stuff. Um, it kind of just came down to, it was one of those things we wanted people to be like obsessed with the product, and it was one of those kind of obsessions that went too far,
Hmm.
one of those obsessive hobbies that kind of went,
Yeah.
into the business. Um, So that's kind of where it came from. And I had paid an artist to, like, I gave them some ideas, and I
Mhm.
gave them rough sketches, and I said, hey, make something out of this. And they came up with the logo. And then later we had someone colorize it, to kind of update it, because it was black and white, but now we have some actual color on it, which I think, um, really made it stand out a little more. So,
So talk to me a little bit about the how you've leveraged having ADHD, having this kind of tendency to get distracted into what potentially can be more of a superpower in business. And we hear this all the time. There's certain industries that it works really well in because they're changing, they're adjusting constantly. You have more space to be creative, as you mentioned. But where do you see that linkage happening with Obsessions? Is it more in the kind of drinks that you come up with, the services that you offer? Where does it really show itself and kind of highlight what power it brings?
Um, I think it's like it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah.
I can have a million things going on in my brain at one time, and there's just I feel like there's just a bunch of ideas floating around in my head. Um, and I think it's helped a lot with trying to just bring fresh ideas into the business because I feel like if you become stagnant in any business, you're going to end up falling behind. And the only reason we've been able to stay in business is because we keep on updating and keep on moving forward. Because we just kept the same things
Mhm.
all the time. I feel like people just get tired. And that's why we try to update menus as often as we can without becoming excessive with it. Um, the curse side of it too is like sometimes there's just too much going on, and I do forget, like key points of like ordering certain supplies and keeping things straight. But it's something I can work on, keep lists and stuff. But it's I think it helps really well with the creativity and stuff with business. So
And I have to say, so your social media is really strong from a sense of if we're ever wondering what is the flavor of the day or the coffee of the month or any of those components, or even if you're open or your hours are adjusting, it's really easy to find that on your Facebook or wherever that might be. Uh, Is that that's for me one of the hardest parts is actually getting my socials coordinated, especially if the one day a week that I set
mhm.
aside gets thrown out the window. So how have you worked with that component? Or do you work with, as you mentioned, kind of list schedules? How do you come up with your content? Is it more about being consistent or more about how do I vary things up kind of day to day? What's that look like for you?
I usually try to set one day aside a week to actually schedule out certain posts. We do our soup of the day post, and then so I'll schedule those out. And then once a week, I'll put out our soups for the week. So people know on Mondays they need to look out for that post so they know what's coming out that week. And then every morning at the same time, our soup of the day is coming out. So it's popping up in people's timelines at the same time. The graphic looks the same. They know what to look for. Um, and we just post really frequently. If we put something in our cold case, we're posting about it. If there's something new in the shop, we're posting about it. Um, just because with how social media algorithms are, like you could post 10 things, but maybe 10 people out of 100 are going to see each one.
Hmm.
So you have to just hope that they're reaching the right people. And I think just keeping frequency and like consistency in mind when you're looking at social media is just like a big thing. Um, and my employees are really good at doing drinks of the day. And we actually just have customers that come in and be like, "What's the drink of the day?" And they get it every day.
My husband's one of those people sometimes because just can't decide when there's a huge list of things.
hmm
Are you self-taught with the social media aspect, like just observing and then, seeing, hey, that appeals to me, maybe we'll use it here?
Yeah, I'm really bad at social media, honestly. I feel like an old lady sometimes with just technology, like TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff. Like sometimes they're just like way over my head. Um, whenever TikTok came out, I was like, wow, how do you work this? And I still have no idea. Um, I feel like videos and stuff are pretty basic, but like what really worked was just like pictures. And I look at like our stats on our business center on Facebook, and like our pictures always get the most views compared to our reels or just word posts.
Hmm.
So we just always try to have a picture with everything. So I just try to um keep in mind what's actually being seen
Hmm.
and just keep on doing that.
And I think that's important because we get caught up in the, oh, let's use the hottest trending song that's come out, or, here's the template that everyone's using. And, that may not always work for your customers. And
Mhm.
if we're in an area that is an older population other than the school. And I'll tell you what, they like to scroll and, take a look and that looks really good. And let me stop. And I think for around here, food really does highlight off of the photos of eating with your eyes.
Right.
Or drinking with your eyes in some cases. So you've also got not only the partnership with Trendy Trades, but you work with Colton's Cookies, you work with the Yellow Creek Bread Company, which has the best sourdough
Mm-hmm.
options. They have a focaccia that is just to die for, and a whole lot of other things. So how have you gone about those relationships? Are they products that you used to purchase or still do, or are they things that have been recommended to you? And then, how do you navigate back and forth? I know some things you stock, some they actually come in and take a table at the shop, but what's that process look like?
Well, Honey Badger Baked Goods, we did shows with them from the beginning when I just sold the roasted coffee. So whenever we went into the trailer, there was limitations on what we could do in the trailer too. Like I couldn't bake in there.
Mhm.
So I got a hold of Stacy with Honey Badgers and I said, hey, what can we make that, would go with coffee? So we tried things consistently. And one thing that really stuck was her cinnamon rolls. So we sold those for a good year before they started getting old.
Mhm.
So just because I knew her and she's right there in Homer City. So it was really great to just have her right on the road and like, hey, can we get this? And she would try really anything. She tried making biscotti for us. She did coffee cake. She just always up for trying new things. Um, Yellow Creek's right in Homer City too. And we just decided to collaborate together. I think she actually contacted me and said, hey, I just got licensed. And history from there, that was a no-brainer
Mhm.
because her stuff's good. So, um, Colton Cookie, I actually cold called him. I emailed him and I said, hey, I saw your stuff. I'm on the hunt for new things. And he's like, oh, I've never done wholesale. I have no idea. And I said, how about just buy it off you? And then we'll just go from there.
Mhm.
And those have just taken off. People love those cookies. They're massive.
Yeah, I can't go get a coffee without some kind of sweet, which is probably to my own detriment, but they just go so well together.
Right.
And we see that kind of everywhere. And I think the beauty is around this area, uh, every coffee shop works with different partners. So it's also a conversation of if I know Yellow Creek is coming to Obsessions, I'm going to come get my coffee because I want to get some sourdough while I'm there,
Right.
or, bagels or whatever it might be. And, vice versa. If you're definitely looking for, something specific at one of the other coffee shops, that's where you might go. But it's been really nice to have for a lot of places that only promoted during festivals or, pop-ups, that there is a home base now for
Right.
some of them to be able to work out of. And I think it goes to show, shoot your shot. You never know who might want to partner or collaborate.
Right. Crumbs by Kenzie, our cake pop girl, she literally just brought us samples one day. And I said, you know what? That's something we don't have. Great. And we ended up just working with her. So,
Yeah. So I want to talk for a second about the coffee and drink menu because it's not all coffee, right? You do other things
right.
beyond coffee. How do you come up with your menus, your concoctions? Because just knowing places around here, there are some that have, here's your 3 drinks of the day. And you can make some other things, but it's limited in their syrups. You have another that literally has every syrup that's ever been created in the earth and it becomes overwhelming. And I find you're very much hot in the middle. There's diversity, it changes with the seasons, but it's not overwhelming too much. So what does that look like? Are your baristas coming up with things? Are you developing them? Do the customers kind of come up with stuff that becomes staples?
I would say a good mix of that. I take the reins on our seasonal menus. And I look into what are the seasonal flavors and especially with like fall menu, like I'm not looking at just a pumpkin spice. I want to get into the other flavors like pecan and other things that. And like winter, we got into fig. Like if you don't see as much, we want to get into those other seasonal flavors that maybe other shops aren't tapping into. Because I feel like you can only have so many peppermint mochas in the winter before you're looking for a different flavor profile. So we're always just looking into what other things can we offer. So that's kind of where I sit with the seasonal menus. I kind of do that. And we always try to do chai too. If we're doing a seasonal coffee menu, we're also trying to incorporate as many chai versions as we can because not everyone likes coffee. So, same with like kids. We try to make as many kids options too because I'm a mom. I want to be able to take my kid somewhere that has kids options. So we try to do that. And my employees are really good with just coming up with like new combinations. And sometimes they make it onto our seasonal menu. So that's one less thing I have to come up with. So, and our customers are also pretty creative. And there are certain things that they have come up with that I have transitioned into seasonal menus too.
I love it. And it like, makes you feel like you're a part of it when you can go in and do something like that or see the concoction you came up with end up on the menu.
Right.
But it's not even just the mixes. You've done things, special cups. You've
Yeah.
done, different elements that would have been some of those kind of unique approaches that mix it up beyond just the flavor profiles.
Um, just going back to keeping things fresh. We did the holiday cups, those glass ones. Everyone thought they were really cute, and I didn't want it like just another disposable plastic cup. I wanted something that if you're paying for it, I wanted to be a nice glass cup that people could keep. Um, so just a quality. I look for quality as much as I can with that kind of stuff. Um, and I feel like that helps those certain things stand out.
Mhm.
Um, so that's just another one of those things. Those little things in my brain, I'm like, "Oh, we're just gonna incorporate that." And there's certain things I'm already out in the summer thinking about what we can do in summer.
Yeah.
So,
And that's, I think, with any of those businesses, you have to be 6 months ahead
mhm.
sometimes, especially when there's planning coming in. I know you host even classes that come, and participate now that you have that space
Right.
to have them there. So I'm sure, that comes into consideration. Can you do this on this day and, still balance out?
Right.
And staffing. We're in a weird workspace.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're all feeling that,
Yeah.
trying to find consistent, reliable employees. We definitely need more people, so I know it's not just us. So I feel like that's everywhere, yeah.
Yeah. What have been some of the lessons you've learned in starting up a business, moving from something healthcare where I hate to say it's been structured around whether the structure works or not is its own debate. It doesn't work. But the component of now you're in it for yourself. You're setting the framework, you're setting the expectations, the goals. So have there been missteps along the way? Have there been things, that you wish you would have done differently? Or are you more in the sense of let's embrace that lesson and at least not repeat it, but learn from it as we go forward?
Yeah, lots of lessons, definitely, like, financially, the state doesn't make it easy at all to do anything, and it's just learning, like, what you need to do to keep up on licenses and taxes and just all the little tiny paperwork related things that you have to do. That was a big learning curve
Mhm.
for me in general. Um, Especially being like on more the creative side of things. I don't really want to think about that kind of stuff. Like that's a really hard thing for me to set aside time in my day to
Yeah.
kind of deal with. But yeah, part of business. As far as like mistakes and stuff, as an employer, I think it takes a while for anyone to kind of settle into their management style. And I'm still learning what works, but I feel like consistency, letting things go too long was a big one for me. And being taken advantage of definitely has happened. So I feel like moving forward, like standing up for myself will be a big change that I'll need to make in the, coming future as we grow.
And I hear that a lot, especially from female leaders in the 40 and under kind of range is not wanting to be involved in conflict and just like, hey, if we can keep everyone happy, everything
Yeah.
goes well. But sometimes we can't. And then to your point, the conflict becomes more aggressive in the end than it might have been had we dealt with it in the beginning.
Yeah,
But it takes time to determine how you're going to navigate that, I think.
definitely.
And I know I was a remote supervisor, which was very different than being in person and having to be face to face with someone and, confronting some of those things that might come up or the different generations that are involved. So,
Yeah, yeah. But definitely like every new hurdle comes with an opportunity for me to come up with a new policy at this point. So at least it's helping me come up with, you know, rules in place that I can keep things flowing normally. So Mistakes, yeah, they've happened, but, you know, we're moving forward and getting better.
Mm,
I feel like everything's a jumping off point that you can grow. So,
yeah. And I appreciate mentioning the paperwork aspect. I know I support one of the local animal rescues, and we're still trying to get the charitable license through for this year because it's one paper that doesn't have
mhm.
a signature that
Oh
I
boy.
think is on there, but it's not. And you go back and forth. And, same when you're doing quarterly taxes, or I just at some point was like, I don't know money. Let me get myself I will spend money on the tax person and the financial advisor. But that just is another realm of local services that
Right.
I know. I've met a couple local bookkeepers and I'm like, oh, okay. So if your energies are creative, and how many other small companies have we mentioned, sitting here that
Right.
probably are in that same realm, there's opportunities for those type of services too. So if you're not a creative person, doesn't rule you out being able to have a small business even in this type of area, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So, are there other groups that maybe behind the scenes you work with locally? You mentioned kind of the Homer City Municipal Building, and I know they do events, holiday events that you've been a part of. The Indiana, County has events and things like that. So, what are some of the business groups that you engage with?
So as a town ourselves, we try to come together and just do as many town events as we can. Um, so most of the major businesses on Main Street, we're coming up with like new things to do. Um, it's usually Penny Trades, myself, Disobedient Spirits, Wave Riders, Sweet Shop, Home Slices, whoever else just wants to get involved. Looks at pizza.
Hmm.
So we'll come up with a date. We'll say, hey, this is the date for this. We have Homer for Hounds coming up in April, which is with the Indiana County Humane Society. So we usually do that once a year, and we donate a lot of proceeds to the Humane Society. Um, and we just, we come together and just come up with fun things. And we do them on Thursday night. And you wouldn't believe how many people come out on a Thursday night just to have fun.
Yeah. And okay, I have to put a plug in here for Home Slice because you mentioned it. If you are in the Indiana County area locally listening, they have the best pierogi pizza that I've ever had. And that is, I know there's probably people not from Southwestern Pennsylvania listening to that going, what is that? It's potato on pizza dough, but it is really great. And so even in that small stretch, because Homer City is smaller than even Indiana Borough, which is right here where we're recording today, which is also still very small, and you still have all of these little nuggets and these gems. And the other thing, especially in the summer, is you've got the Hoodlebug Trail. So
Yeah.
a rails to trail system that really runs through. And I was just thinking, wow, we could just bike down there and then pop off and get a coffee and get some caffeine because it's uphill coming back. But you've got other streams. So it's not dependent necessarily maybe on just car traffic
Hmm.
having to come off the main drag into town, but other ways that people kind of get to you. Do you see that? Like more foot traffic maybe than normal, especially come summer months, not only because it's warm, but because you've got this kind of exploratory system.
Right. We do get in the warm months, we have a lot of people bike in,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool. And we have a lot of walkers. There's a lot of people that just walk to us. They live, in town. It's a very walkable town.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really nice because they can walk up and down Main Street. So it makes Main Street really friendly to those who live there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for the businesses, walkability wise, and just having the trail that close too.
So before we talk about soup, I got to talk about balance in life. And you mentioned you've got a little one at home. I know that coming the reasons we rebooked was weather and school was canceled, sickness. Those are not just things that disrupt maybe one or two things, but they're things business owners have to work around, especially when you're small and you're kind of a key person. What have been some of those core things that you found help with that? Whether it's taking kiddo in or empowering people to kind of take those decisions that need done that day. If you're not there, has remote life helped even when you are a service or a kind of consumer based business?
Um, so in those events, I think my core employees that we have right now, we have worked really hard together to be able to just function without one of us there. if I'm not there or if school's canceled, I'll either bring my son in, and he sits there and he reads books and he'll play his tablet or whatever, and we'll get what we need done and I'll take him home. I also have employees if their kids are, don't have school that day, they have delay, we'll work together to make sure that they can go and take their kids to daycare. I try to be as friendly and cooperative and, like keeping work-life balance in mind as much as possible, with my employees too, because, it comes back to me in loyalty and helpfulness.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think our customers see that too. If we're like, hey, the weather's really bad, I don't feel comfortable having my baristas come in general. I think they appreciate that to a point. Like, oh, you know, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they're like, oh, where's so and so today? I'm like, oh, school was canceled at home with the kids. They're like, oh, okay. They
Yeah.
understand that too. So,
And that's the community piece, right? You get to know each other. You know your baristas by name. I know we have that with a few of the places we go, or the servers or the managers, because they live right here in the community with you, and they get to know everyone.
yeah.
So let's talk soup. I have to say, you have some of the best soups that I've had, and not that I'm a connoisseur, I don't make them all that often myself, but they're unique in a lot of ways. And so who comes up with the recipes, and what are some of your favorite soups that you have done, or the most popular ones?
Yeah. So I do all the soups. I am like teaching a couple of the girls how to do some of them. But right now, like, I'm pretty much like doing most of it. I don't have any recipes. Like, I'm a person that's like, throw in there, handful of this, sprinkle of that. So people have said about like, oh, can I have a recipe or can I have a cookbook of this? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but I don't know I don't know how much is in there. Like, everything's by eye and smell. And, you know, I would say our most popular ones, like we do a chicken gnocchi soup. That's gone over really well. Um, we recently did a chicken, I think it's pastina, I think is how you pronounce it. Don't ask me. But that
Little pastas, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one went really well too. I'm on Pinterest a lot and just scrolling and just looking at different things, like not necessarily even getting recipes, but just like, oh, that looks cool. And we'll just mimic the way it looks and
Mhm.
just trying to come up with new flavors of stuff, like keeping things fresh.
Yeah. I would say, if you ever do want to do a cookbook, I would 100% buy it and promote it, probably, because you had a kielbasa and pierogi soup, and I've never heard of such a thing. And if listeners can tell by my pierogi pizza mention, pierogi is near and dear to my heart. But those are things too that you could sell in the ebook version.
Right.
So just saying, if as you're teaching the other, one of them wants to write some stuff down, maybe we get a Homer City soup collection. But I think too, and then it's available the next day, because if someone comes in at 7 in the morning, there's not going to be soup there waiting for them at 7 a.m.
Right.
You get the cold, the cold fridge that you put the leftovers in for people to have. And that's actually what we did. We took a couple quarts of soup home for the weekend that time. But are there any other things that you are anticipating expanding to? So you've got, the kitchen kind of set up now. You do sandwiches, you've got the soups. Is there a next gen thing coming for Obsessions in the next year or so?
Um, well, we would really like to expand ours a little bit. So that's our next step. After that, we're looking at a mobile setup that's not a trailer. We would really like to have a cart for indoor events. We've had a lot of people want us to set up at our weddings. And
Mhm.
right, we just don't have the capability of that. Like, I would need double the equipment, like another espresso machine and then a cart. So that's on our list. Also need more staffing for that. So that's a whole other, set of hands that we would have to have.
I did a brunch wedding, Josh and I did, and that was one of the things we wanted. We didn't end up doing it, but like What a great idea. And especially for late weddings
Yeah.
is getting that little hit, while everyone's doing their photos, being able to get over and get a latte or an espresso. So fingers crossed that works out. I think that would probably be definitely in demand. I do want to take a second just to say, hey, you've been also great. I know we've talked about lessons learned, but being honest about things to customers so that they're not caught off guard. And I think in a world where so often we want to run the highlight reel, right?
Mhm.
I remember we came in once and it was cold in there and you had just posted the week before about, hey, we're running heaters. Like there's no insulation. We've done this upgrade. It's also 0 degrees outside. We're really sorry. And my husband was with me and he was like, wow, it's cold. And I was like, it's okay. I knew about it. And so there's not this element of surprise and you can make that decision of, do you want to do that? Is that just something kind of inherent? Because I know there's a lot of folks that are, I'm not saying anything until someone asks me why it's cold in here.
Mhm.
And instead you went above and beyond. You're like, no, hey guys, here's the situation. Here's what we're trying to do. And next year, hopefully, we'll have an even further piece. Was it helpful because it stemmed off questions that folks might have had, or, what was the thought process?
Yeah, that was a whole big thing because, we had a really cold winter and that building is ancient, like 1800s. And yeah, no insulation whatsoever. And they're still actively like insulating the whole building. So it wasn't something we expected to have issues with. So we've been adding on HVAC equipment like as we go and as we find issues. We didn't know how things were going to work. So as we're like, oh man, it's getting cold in here. We have to figure something out as far as heating, but we didn't want people coming in and being disappointed right off the bat. So we're like, hey, welcome in, but just letting you know we're having issues with the heating. I feel like, I don't know, people are, if they're already looking at social media, I want them to know ahead of time.
Right.
I don't want to be sneaky about like, oh, come in here, but it feels like lying if I'm if I'm like, oh, come in here. It's really nice in here, but it's cold.
Yeah, because I think about someone that wants to come in and maybe sit and work for a while. Maybe if that was their plan and they walk in and they're like, I can't work, they might just leave right away. But if they are like, can't work there today, but I can still go get my coffee, they're going to use their time and effort, get the coffee and go to the other spot where they might do a drop down. So it gives that chance to have that kind of educated decision about it.
Right.
But I know that it's hard when, you work really hard and you're running into, now we got to put money into HVAC and now we got to do all these things. But as you mentioned, we're in a state where there is old houses everywhere. My home that I had in Pittsburgh didn't have insulation. So it is something that we definitely experience on a regular basis. And when you're in those growth phases, there's stuff you're going to run into. Leaks in roofs, windows, all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's still a work in progress. The building's big.
Mm-hmm.
And they're working on stuff upstairs, like putting apartments in and stuff. So things are still happening. So hopefully like next winter, we're good.
Well, I think we're getting to a point where I want to give you a chance to really promote. We're going to drop this episode in a few weeks. So if we're thinking about kind of, hey, what's coming up in April? What's a flavor someone can look forward to this spring? Or are there any events? You mentioned the Homer for Hounds piece, or anything that just from a message of, hey, I'm listening in Texas. I can't come up and get any coffee necessarily from Obsessions, but what should people look for when they're trying to explore new places? So sorry for the multifaceted question, but a little bit of what for right now, our local folks tuning in, what can they expect? And then for other places, what do you have advice for someone that's starting something up or customers that are looking for how to find their local spot?
So, what's coming up for us? So we're doing a new menu, on St. Patrick's Day. So that's gonna be our cereal menu. We're like Lucky Charms. Let's do that. So we're doing a bunch of different cereals. And that's gonna run till like maybe early May. And then we're gonna jump into our spring menu, which is gonna be flowers and florals and a little bit of fruity stuff. We'll run that until late June, where we jump into our fruits for summer. So just keeping that in mind, we're going to be switching some things up, keeping things fresh for, our menu drops. Homer for Hounds, April 16th, I believe. It's a Thursday. So, it'd be really great, 3 to 7 p.m. if everyone came out for that. money's going to a good cause. We have a lot of vendors that come out for that. So if you're looking for something to do, that'd be the time to come out.
Awesome.
Yeah. As far as like starting up a business, if you're thinking about it, I mean, might as well just do it and just see how it goes. I mean, what else could you really do? You either jump in or you don't. I mean, I say jump in.
And it's risky. You leave
Yeah.
a guaranteed income. I mean, I've just
Yeah.
done it. And last night was one of my spirals where I was just like, oh, that bill came out. That's feeling rough. But to your point, if you don't stick with it, and this is actually an episode releasing this week that we're recording, talked about we're negotiating our own potential. And so if you stop, it's your decision to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if it's something you want, you have to kind of go all in, whether you're working your other job or not. Like mentally, you have to kind of go all in. You can't be like, you have to go straight for it. And you have to be willing to put a lot of work into it and know that you're probably going to have a mental breakdown or two here and there because it's inevitable. Like, it's going to happen.
And know that stuff may be uncomfortable at times. And I think what we hear a lot from people that have had failures is that failure, though, leads to kind of that next iteration of who they are or business that they run. And if you don't go all in, how do you ever really know what you were capable of or what this could have resulted in for yourself? And I think, the beauty of the community that you sit in and all these other small business owners that you can rely on or bounce things off of at times when you're going through it. But what better time to do it than when we're still young and able too?
Right. Yeah. Why not do it right now? If I fail, whatever, but I put time into it. I put effort into it. So, if it all goes away, it's like, oh, well, I tried, right?
Yeah. And time is a weird construct. We might think that, oh, we did this thing and it should be really successful tomorrow. And I mean, even with this podcast, the last month was my first month of major steady growth. And I'm like, is this a sign? It only took 8 months, but it's not an overnight success. And when you're in communities like this, that I think have gone through so much change in time, we've had the Homer City power plant, just kind of go through its thing. We've lived through the coal life that now we're starting to see iterations of the universities coming back to life after COVID, and you never can predict any of it.
No,
so
you never know what's going to come up. So it's like staying flexible because you have no idea what's going to come your way.
Yeah. And being receptive of it, that open door thing of, one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
So, Bre, where can people find information about Obsessions if they want to either look at what you do sell online or find out more about your location, website, socials? What does that look like?
We mostly do all of our socials on Facebook and Instagram. We do a little bit on TikTok, but most of it's going to be on Facebook. We get most of our engagement on there. We get most of our customers from Facebook and Instagram. We have some stuff on Google. We try to keep our menus updated on Google. And we're going to be doing online ordering through Square pretty soon on our Squarespace. Just getting that set up has been quite the the issue. I'll say that.
So hopefully people will go ahead, check that out. You heard a little bit about what you can find on the socials. So if you're listening and you are like, hey, I'm going to be in that area, maybe there's kids coming to the university or anything like that, or you're local here, got a lot of local listeners, you can check it out. Find out that soup. Go test it out. It is so good, I'm telling you. Head out to Homer for Hounds. Keep in mind, what kind of coffees or refreshers or things that you like. You had a glitter drink last year, I think.
Yeah.
That my friend took about 20 pictures of because no matter which way she photographed it, it looked great. And don't be surprised if you see something new come up. I think we've had some great messages through this, which is don't be afraid to reach out. If you've got something, take it in, share a business card, engage.
Right.
We build off each other in so many ways. So, Bre, any last messages for folks as we wrap up today?
No, I think we covered a lot.
We move fast. It's the ADHD
Yeah,
brains
yeah,
going from thing to thing.
yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. We'll make sure to tag all of this stuff in the episode. If you are watching on YouTube or Spotify, you'll see us overlay some photos of different things along the way. And make sure to do that old like, subscribe, do whatever it is, so you can come back and hear more about our local series where we're interviewing people just like Bre in the community here in Indiana County, Pennsylvania, but also driving into those pieces about being business owners, starting out, learning from all of these journeys that we're on. And we're so happy that you were able to join today, Bre. So thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks everyone for tuning in. We will talk again soon.